Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the McKinney H800726D. This is a double-acting pivot is what it is. If you're seeing this video, it's very likely by the time you're seeing this video, this item is discontinued and no longer available. It's discontinued right now. It's November of 2022. And it is discontinued, and I'm making a video of this just so that we can archive the data so that people can see what it looked like in the future, I suppose. But if you're seeing this video, it's likely that there is none remaining in inventory. There was a couple of dozen at this time, but being the last item available like this, they're unlikely to last. So the H8007, that's a hold open version. This is a gravity pivot. Would included the top pivot as well, and then a screw package. And let's take some basic dimensional properties just to put some scale on it. I suppose the overall height of the bottom portion is about 2.5 inch. Overall width of the jam bracket, 1.25 inches by about 1.75 inches. The top jam bracket, it's about 1.75 inches, and then again 1.25 inches. Projection of that bracket looks like it's about 1.75 inches. Will include fasteners. Okay, this is a gravity pivot because when the door is opened, the weight of the door itself will allow the door to close and find center again. However, this is a hold open version, which means if you turn the door to 90 degree, it will stay at 90 degree until you then push it, and it will fall back to a centered closed position. You know, probably rocking back and forth a little bit like that. We'll include instructions as well. So let's talk about now where exactly you're likely to see this and where you would use this. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Now this is an extremely capable piece of equipment. And I say that because it will handle a range of doors from 7/8 to 1 5/8 thick. You could use thicker doors, but you're going to need to leave the math of the template aside and make adjustments. And it's rated for likely up to a 50-pound door. The manufacturer does not indicate that in their document. Or do they? Let's take a closer look. Yeah, 50 pounds is what they're calling the maximum door weight on this, which is not unusual for this. So it's going to handle a door that's fairly heavy. I mean, that's half of the weight of a full-size, basically a full-size 3/06/8 1.75 thick particle board door. And it's going to handle something that will be typical, 1.25 inches, 1 3/8, something in that range in terms of thickness. Where you're going to see it is the little half doors that go behind the cash wrap area in a coffee shop, in a gas station. You'll see them literally anywhere. This would be considered, I wouldn't necessarily call it light duty. There are certainly gravity pivots that are positively light duty. This would not be considered light duty, but in the realm or the universe of the manufacturer who made this would be considered quite heavy duty in comparison to other material. McKinney also had a 4007 heavy duty gate, or 4007 RB. Those are definitely no longer on the shelf, unfortunately. That would have been a much heavier grade model available in architectural finishes. So those sorts of retail applications where you've got a small double acting door, gravity is what is forcing that door to find center again. Works really well, dependable, they last for decades, that kind of thing. The only thing over time, and not really with this 8007, is this bushing has been something that I've seen it needing to be replaced, but the only time I see that bushing needing to be replaced is extreme high volume over years. But the bushing does degrade and allows the door to not sit exactly true plumb level and square in the opening, because that metal's literally worn and the bushing's basically gone. So let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at the installation instructions. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at the extended description. Gravity pivot hinge 8007 features a unique ball-bearing pivot riding on a hardened steel cam, providing frictionless, long-lasting service. Okay, I don't know where that ball-bearing pivot is. That's coming right out of the manufacturer's catalog, so let's just set that concept aside. Surface applied to the jamb, and the top socket may be applied or mortised into the top of the door. The box may be surface applied or mortised into the bottom of the door. I'll show you what that means. 90-degree hold open. This is double acting. Weight of the door closes the door, no spring because it's gravity. Non-handed, 7/8 to 1 and 5/8. Maximum door width 30-inch, satin chrome finish, and when you buy one, we'll ship you one. Let's click on that link to specification that was right here. And it's like, this is just the cut sheet showing you both the non-hold open 8007 and the hold open H8007. 50-pound weight, 60-inch door height maximum. Let's also look at the catalog. This is actually, I'll just leave this there for you to review. It's the entire McKinney catalog, so that's not of too much value to us at this time. Images that we have of the item here. This is the contents of the box. That little clipping that's there is on the inside of this hardware as well. You can kind of see it there. That's what allows it to hold open. Your top jamb bracket and top pivot, showing that bushing. The top door portion, your screw packages, and your installation instructions. Now, speaking of installation instructions, let's dive into those right now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, so these installation instructions are the same for the 8007 and the H8007. Take note of the name of the person who drew the template, Jackson. Just put that in the back of your head. Parts. It's nice to see a listing of parts here. Top bracket, nylon bushing, etc. Step 1, and I find it valuable to follow the installation instructions even when they seem to be counterintuitive to the approach that you might take. You might just find that there's something in these instructions that are important to follow. And I'll point that out. There is something. Fasten bottom bracket to jamb. Bottom bracket only can also be installed up or down as shown. So only the bottom bracket can be installed that way. Be sure bottom bracket is in vertical alignment with top bracket. Yeah, it makes sense. So you can install it in either fashion, but you don't have the barrel attached to the bracket at that moment. You're just attaching it. You want to make sure that this is flat against the jamb, that it is plumb, absolutely. Then you're going to bring the pivot cylinder into the bottom bracket. And very importantly, and there's a square drive on the bottom of that, so that will really only fit in positively in one sort of orientation. You can put it in correct side or reverse, but you'll figure that out when you try to hold the door open. Only tighten nut to snug fit. Do not over tighten nut. All you're doing is holding it on at this moment. Step 3, they do show a 7/8 radius on the door edge here. You don't need to achieve that. You don't have to radius this, but you're probably going to need to pad out the jamb ever so slightly, depending on the door thickness. To know those absolute values, I would put that into AutoCAD myself. But they're calling out a radius, and that's what you are obliged to provide. If you had a thicker door and you were just leaving it square edge, I might be tempted to check the math in AutoCAD or pad that out immediately. So step 3, radius the pivot style. Fasten the top bracket. They're not giving you a dimension, except they're inferring to flush it to the edge of the door. Okay, fine. Attach the bottom door portion. Make sure that that is all plumb. So those parts are attached. Then what you do, step 4, fasten top bracket, allowing clearance between top bracket and top pivot plate. Make sure they're in vertical alignment with bottom bracket. Again, must be plumb. And the trick of this is you've got to leave the 3/4 inch, because remember, it's a gravity pivot. This door is going to lift as you open it, so you've got to leave that space there. What they are not showing is the surface mount, or pardon me, the mortise mount. So this is surface mounted. What you could do, and I would argue that it's atypical, but you certainly could do it, assuming that your door construction would permit it, is that you would have your door and you would notch it out like this. And then your assembly would basically sit like this. So you could do that. And your nut is down here. And then your jamb. Okay, so you could notch it out like that should you want to. They just don't show it drawn like that. Nor do they give you dimensions for that. I would not tell you that it's a hard dimension of how far of this you're going to notch, but obviously you're going to be compromising the door to a certain degree, so that may not be applicable to you to actually mortise or notch the bottom of the door. Make sure the door is permitted to rise and fall. That's the 3/4 inch. Remember, never over-tighten nut, only snug fit. To help with door alignment, shims may be used on bottom bracket to help rotate door in or out. Yeah, should the jamb be not perfectly square in the opening, you might need to tip that back and forth. The H8007 with hold open feature does not require any special instruction, and you can read the rest of this. Okay, back to Jackson. So this hardware is without a doubt the same as the Bomber 7512H-652. We have the template here from the original version, which they show it notched at the bottom. And you'll take note, the person who drew this is Jackson. So his name is Stuart Jackson. He's the engineer at Bomber for decades. And he's forgotten more about double acting and spring hinges than people have ever learned. He is the absolute... there are several patents in his name. It's an easy Google search. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, and I found him to be absolutely one of the most famous people in our industry that no one has ever heard of because of his knowledge and experience. So this is the original document that would come with the 7512H. You might want to refer to it because it has more data on it, showing you the 1 1/16, the 5/32 clearance, 5/8 travel, etc. A little bit cleaner drawing. Instructions, I don't know if they're any different. Not at all. Product catalog. This is the original document from Bomber where these double-acting pivots are found, or were found. 7512 family is down here. I don't know absolutely that McKinney or Assa Abloy would have sent purchase orders to Bomber and said, hey, okay, private label these for us. But I can certainly tell you that they come in the same boxes. They're the same hardware. They differ only in the fact that they have an Assa Abloy stamp on the jam plate. So I'm imagining that these were licensed or bought from Bomber for all those years. The fact that it is substantially more expensive than the Bomber unit was tells me that a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation is buying it from another large company and then having to obviously mark it up and be profitable on that. But wanted to point out the original item. These are also discontinued, and when inventory becomes zero, this will no longer be obviously available on our website. There's a link below here to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the McKinney products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the most current product catalog. And while we wait for, well, it's loaded. So McKinney has other items that touch on this type of product line, and it would be about 75% of the way through their catalog. They do have, and I don't know if all of this was coming out of Bomber. They have some double-acting spring hinges that are in here. I don't think they are because they look different than Bomber's material. Gate springs, spring hinges, double-acting hinges, clamp-style double-acting hinges, but just a shadow of what Bomber would have offered originally. Horizontal double-acting spring pivots, the heavy-duty versions of this 8007. There's your 8007, and that's pretty much it. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Now, in conclusion, the purpose of this was to just show you what this looked like and where it would have been used. I have absolutely no idea what everybody is going to do because these things are really common. It's unfathomable that someone will not step in and provide this item. Just the top-tier retailers that would call and order this. We'd have gas station chains with hundreds of locations order double-acting pivots like this, 24 at a time. Just a really famous national chain of pizza places that are known for having arcades inside as well. Order them 20 at a time, just all the time. Woodworking companies, when they're incorporating the material into a retail environment is where you'll really see this. So hopefully there's good news in the near future because this will be a demand that's going to go unmet very soon. Any questions on the 8007 or any other H8007 or any other McKinney product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.